fill in the blank, and you can shout out some answers. I don't have enough, ... I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy.
Friends.
I don't have enough friends. I don't have enough self-control. I want to talk to you, I want to take you back to who I was as a child, growing up, into my early teens and late teens and my 20s, and take you on this road on how I became who I am now. I think about back when I was growing up, I think about the three individuals in my life that really made a big impact on me. My dad, my mom, and my older sister. My dad was very self-reliant growing up, very independent. He owns his own plumbing business. My dad started his business, very ambitious, invested early in life, but he never knew how to give love because he never received love. My dad, to give you an example, when he was a little kid, he was about 3 or 4 years old, there was no hot water, no heat. And they were staying at his aunt's house because his mom was out with her mom and just left the kids in her sister's home by themselves, no hot water, no heat. And his sister tried to wake him up, and she thought he was dead because he was frozen to death. So she laid all of the clothes and all of the jackets on top of him and laid on top of the jackets in New Jersey to keep him warm, to make him through the night. That's how my dad was raised, with the roaches and the bed bugs and the frozen water pipes. So he never received love growing up. My mom, strong, independent woman, grew up in Brooklyn, New York, loving as can be, and her role in life was just to protect and serve her children. Mother of 6, and her life is designed simply just to raise her family. I think about my older sister. My older sister, she's 2 years older than me, Liz, one of the toughest people you get a chance to meet. She was always the cool girl, always popular. No matter where we went, she always had friends with her. She was never alone. And she got turned on by getting into trouble. She thrived on getting in trouble. My room in high school was merit roll and honor roll certificates. Her room was decorated with referral slips. And I think she broke the high school record. I think it was 96 in 1 year. Something crazy. Big accomplishments in life. And what's interesting is we project our lens of life onto those around us. So this was the lens that I was receiving as the youngest growing up. I think about my dad withholding affection, never saying I love you, didn't know how to give it because he never received it. I think about my mom, who was scared to give her love to a husband. That's why she was married 3 times. So she gave that love to her children unconditionally and just protected us from any harm. And think about my sister. Being in control of other people meant she didn't have to be in control of herself. And she got into trouble, so she created attention for herself. And that's how she was able to get noticed. I do have 6 other siblings. I'm the youngest of 8. But those 3 individuals really created my lens for how I grew up in life because I spent most of my time around them. And I want you to think about your childhood, on who you spent most of your time with, because who you spent most of your time with created the lens of how you view your world. So I thought about, how do I fit in? Where do I fit in growing up? Some of my biggest breakthroughs came as my lens started to change. In 3rd grade, our first road trip as a family, we drove up to Boston to see my oldest brother in a play. And it was a rental car. My sister thought it was a good idea to lock one another in the trunk. So we're in the back seat playing. So she says, Michael, lock me into the trunk, and as soon as I bang on the door, on the seats, let me in. So I put her in there. She's sitting there maybe 15 seconds, opened it up, and she was smiling. She was like, oh my God, that was crazy. You should try it. So I go into the trunk, and about that 15-second mark, I'm banging. Nothing. 30 seconds. start to freak out a little bit. About a minute, I'm like about to die. Like, bloody murder, death is upon me. I'm about to die. I can't breathe. I lose my shortness of breath. I am banging. I am screaming. I feel like I'm about to die at about 90 seconds. And then finally, after what felt like an eternity, was probably maybe 2 minutes tops, she finally opens it up, and I'm bawling hysterically. And my parents are in the front seat and had no idea how traumatized I was in third grade. On how I trusted my big sis, and that's what I got to experience. A loss in trust. Some of you may have heard this in 5th grade. We were in Denver, Colorado, and visiting my brother and his wife now were getting married. My dad handed me a $5 bill and said, there's a guy across the street, here, give this to him. So he hands me a $5 bill, and I run across 6 lanes of traffic approximately and tap the guy on the shoulder. I say, here you go, mister, this is for you. About 10 years old. He looks at me, looks at the $5. I look at him. I look at the McDonald's bag that he's eating the French fries out of that he just picked out of the trash can. He looks at me, looks at the $5, and kicks me right in the stomach. The day I get beat up by the homeless guy. I dropped that $5. I ran across that street so fast. I'm hysterically crying. Dad, go get him and kick me in the stomach. And all he does is laugh. And he looks at me and says, what am I going to do? I'm going to beat the guy up? Like, you have no idea what that guy's going through. And also understand you did the right thing. As long as you do the right thing in life, empathize with people, you'll be okay. Good lesson for 5th grade. I listened to what people told me to do. I avoided confrontation. He asked me to do something, I did it. I was always a good kid. I tried to be cool going into middle school. And in 7th grade, I was a big Michael Jordan fan, so I saved up some money, and I bought the red and black Michael Jordans. Oh, those were hot. And I still have them. Suede on the bottom. Oh, those shoes, they were awesome. And all the kids wanted these shoes. So I saved up some money, I bought these shoes, and I remember wearing them to school, and all the cool kids, what I thought were cool kids, were like, oh, damn, look at Abramowitz with the J's, right? Oh, man. And I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be amongst the cool kids. So I thought buying shoes would get me a part of the cool crowd. So they laced it up for me. It was like a loop lace. And they laced one of them up. It was like real cool. And I was like, man, now I have friends. I'm part of the cool crowd. That same day, I remember in gym class, we had the weigh-in. And thankful enough, I made my new friends, so we were in line together. And the day that they had to move the knob from 150 pounds to 200 pounds. And all those kids I thought were my new friends started making fun of me, started calling me fat jokes, and there went my reputation in a matter of a few periods. I remember going home crying that day and realizing that a pair of shoes aren't going to make me friends and I got to avoid these guys. I used to get in fist fights with them to try to be cool and try to make sure that they didn't pick on me and make fun of me. Because I thought that's what I needed to do to fit in. I tried out for the 8th grade basketball team. It was the first team I ever tried out for. And I almost didn't try out because I didn't think I was capable. I started believing these kids that you're slow, you're fat, I lack confidence as it is. But I tried out for the team anyways. The first sports team I ever tried out for. And I remember me and all the cool kids were trying out for the same team. And obviously I was overweight. Obviously I was fat. Obviously I was slow. I was out of shape. But man, I could hit that shot. And I remember doing the running exercises with the kids. I was in last place the entire time. But I ran so hard, I had this giant cramp in my side. This giant cramp in my side, I was running through it. I mean, I was in so much pain. So much pain. I was running. And I had to stop. And I'm walking, and I'm trying to finish the race. And, of course, the kids laughing and making fun of me, but I didn't care because I was going to finish. And the coach, Coach Nopfel, sat me down on the bench and said, Mike, you have a really great work ethic and such a great attitude. I'm going to have you on this team. And I questioned him. I said, are you sure? Did you just witness that? He said, yes. Heart like that's hard to find. I told my parents about that cramp I was getting. So, of course, my mom, being protective in who she is, brought me to the doctors and got it checked out just to be safe. And the first prognosis came back. And my parents got the result. And my dad, for the first time in my life, said these 3 words on the phone and said, I love you. And said everything's going to be fine. And I hear on the phone that he's crying. And then my mom calls right afterwards. And obviously, mom's hysterically crying. And she says, Michael, everything's going to be fine. We're going to get another test. Because the first test came back that I had testicular cancer. Now, I didn't even know what the hell that meant. I was young. All I know is if both my parents are crying, I'm going to cry. That's all I knew. So we got 3 more tests, and it came back that it wasn't testicular cancer. That was called a varicocele, where it was a varicose vein, and the way they described it to me is, in layman's terms, I had a retarded testicle. that developed a little slow. Don't worry, it's okay now. It works perfect. It works great, I promise. But at that point in time, it created a pain and created that cramp, and that was what was happening. So my early childhood, it gives you a picture of who I was. And as I went into my teens, my teenage year, this was the platform, this was the lens that my life was shaped on. At 16 years old, I started finding myself through playing basketball. I started losing some weight. I started gaining some confidence. And then I remember at 16, my sister's best friend comes into class and pulls me out of the class and says, Michael, you got to come home. Your mom needs to talk to you. 6th period. I'll just go home after class. No, your mom needs you now. So I go home and I sit down with my mom on the couch, which I thought was odd because it's never happened before. And she says, Michael, everything's going to be fine. But remember I was having that pain in my stomach? We didn't know what it was. Well, it turns out they found a tumor in my ovaries. It's going to be fine. They just said they need to go through the operation, cut it out, we'll be okay. But I just want to let you know not to worry. But I have a big operation to go into on Monday. Being 16, I never met anyone who had cancer. I didn't know anything about a tumor. I thought it was like, that's fine. Went in for the operation Monday. They cut a grapefruit-sized tumor out of her ovaries. And everything was fine. She was right. Went into remission. Made friends with people in the clinic. Going through chemotherapy. Making friends with the doctors. Making friends with the patients. I remember going through chemotherapy and taking my mom when I was in high school. And I remember witnessing my mom ask the doctors and say, where's so-and-so? And the friends that she was making started dying. And I remember thinking to myself, man, why is my mom making friends and befriending people that are in this clinic that are there to die? And then I also thought to myself, my freaking mom's in the same damn clinic. It started resonating with me that maybe I shouldn't go away to college. Maybe I should just stay at home. I only applied to schools in Florida because I wanted to get the hell out of New Jersey because who I was growing up. But I realized that who I was growing up is also what I was so attached to. Which is what I was familiar with. That's what I knew. That was what was comfortable. But I knew if I wanted to be the best version of me, I had to get the hell out of New Jersey because everyone in New Jersey knew me as the baby, someone who was completely dependent. the overweight kid. So my mom said, "You're only a plane ride away. Fine, go to Florida. Florida has big things for you." I remember when I got to Florida at USF, when I was 18 years old, and I got to my dorm and I hung up my Michael Jordan posters. I had a Pamela Anderson poster too. That one went right above the bed, like on the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
Vacillating time.
Lots of vacillating. But I remember after hanging all these posters up, I sat in that room by myself and I started to cry. I started to cry because an immense amount of pressure just came on me and was like, my goodness, this is my shot. Like, if I mess this up, there's a lot riding on this, because the day I left, there was a party at my house, and I remember my sister's best friend, he's like, "You'll be home in 6 weeks." And my dad is like, "Yeah, he's not going to be able to last." That's what I left to. I left to those words that are stuck in this head, saying, I'm not going to be able to live on my own and be independent. So I cried and I said, I've got to make something happen. I've got to make something happen. The pressure's on. At 19 years old, I got a letter in the mail. And who knew what that letter was going to do for me? That letter allowed me to start selling Cutco. And that letter gave me an opportunity to start finding intentional growth. I realized the importance of self-development. I realized the importance of circle of influence. I realized that who I was, the way I saw my world through that lens, didn't necessarily have to be the lens that I approached the rest of my life through. I realized that I could determine my future regardless of my past. I also realized that through selling Cutco, a lot of my insecurities started to be exposed. I think about my dad and think about who he was and what he had to go through. And I realized that, man, I did not want to go through rejection. I hated rejection, but I learned that I needed to go through rejection if I wanted to be successful in life. I think about my mom, on how much strength that I watched this woman go through that battle that she had with cancer. I said, this is my time to implement those lessons through my childhood. I think about my sister, how tough she was, and how tough she is, and how popular she was, and how she craved all this attention, and how she used to beat me up. But I realized that all of what she tortured me with was just a scapegoat. I was just there. It had nothing to do with me. So through this vehicle, through this opportunity called Cutco, at 20 years old, I said, you know what, I want to get ahead in life. So I bought my first house. I bought my first house at 20 years old. I took some savings. I put 10 grand down. I bought a new construction home, $160,000 home. I was living on cloud nine, man. I got a pool table in the garage, a flat screen TV, really hooked it up. I was renting out the rooms to other roommates and college kids. At 20 years old, I opened up my branch office. I established a relationship with someone I really cared about. I was doing well. I was doing well emotionally, physically, financially. I was doing well. And then I got the phone call when I was 20 years old that, Michael, you need to come home. What? Your mom has 1 week. 1 week? She was fine. I just talked to her yesterday. She's in the hospital. Cancer took over. Gotta come home. Got on the flight. Doctor pulled us in the room. All the family said, it's the worst part about my job is telling good people bad news. Unfortunately, your mom has 1 week. Say your goodbyes. I pulled the doctor aside. I was like, Doc. I'm in college. What am I going to do? Drop out? He's like, if I come home this weekend, we'll be okay. And he says, I wouldn't go home if I were you. And walked away. What do you do? Do what I always did. I talked to my mom. Sat down with my mom and I said, Mom, what do you, I don't think I need to go back to school. I think I gotta be here, obviously in this hospital room, I said, Michael, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Just come back during the weekend. I'll be fine. I said, Mom, you don't understand. Like, I could do college later. I got to be here. She's like, everyone else is here. I'll be fine. Just come home during the weekend. That was one of the hardest decisions I think I ever made in my life, was to get back on that plane. With so much doubt and so many questions. Getting back on that plane after the doctor said your mom had 1 week to live, but she says, get back on that plane and don't drop out of college. So for that week, going back into my Cutco business, going back into college, 5 engineering classes, and living the ordinary college student life, when I know my mom is dying 1,000 miles away. Damn, that was a long week. I got back on that plane Friday night, caught the 9 p.m. plane, got the midnight train, air mattress on the hospital floor waiting for me. And there was my mom. Smile on her face. She fought for the week just like I did. And you know what? F that doctor. Because I took that trip 26 times over the next 8 months. Mom fought so much. Every week. It was a gamble getting back on that plane, going through branch training to run my own business. Selling Cutco to pay my own bills. I just bought this house. I got a mortgage to pay. I have grades to keep. What am I going to do? There's not a chance to settle for easy. Easy does not exist. I already bit off more than I could chew. It's time to eat. So I did. And I remember opening up my branch office as a college kid. 20 years old. I was the boss. Went through May, placed all the advertising. I remember I was so aggressive with my advertising that branch summer that I got these posters in downtown Naples. And I put a poster on every single street light down the strip in downtown Naples. Now, if you're familiar with Naples, that's the ritzy area of Naples. That's where like all the elderly people walk their dogs, and I didn't know. I was aggressively advertising. Every single stoplight, every single telephone post, all down the strip, and then I went back on the other side of the street and did the same thing. So both sides of the street had all these posters on it. I was like, we're definitely taking calls. We got a call. And the call was from Scott Dennis. And Scott Dennis said, hey, Mike, I appreciate the aggressiveness with the advertising, but yeah, we got this call from the city of Naples, and they threatened to go not only shut you down, but put you in jail. So you're no longer allowed to advertise in the city of Naples, just so you know. But thanks, I appreciate the aggressiveness. Remember that call? Remember that call? That was a nice way of saying, you effed up. But you know what? I worked hard that summer. I worked so hard that summer as a branch manager, running my business, building my team. Unfortunately, I got that call again. Mom was back in the hospital. And I had to shut down my business on June 5th in 2006. And I shut down my branch office and flew back up to New Jersey. And unfortunately, Mom lost that battle with cancer. And unfortunately, we had some time with the family. And I told my family I got to get back on that plane and go finish my obligations running my business. And how was I ridiculed, man? You're selfish. You only care about you. You care about me. I'm going back on this plane to run my business because I have people counting on me. But I realized I don't have to explain myself and my decisions to other people. How are you going to have the audacity to put pressure on me because of my decisions of what I need to do and what I'm obligated to? So I got on that plane, and you know what? I got back to a team of people that all quit. My receptionist quit. My team quit. Everyone was gone. I was only gone for 5 days. What are you going to do? Build a new team. That's what I did. And the office went on to be number 1 in the division, which back then was $108,000 in sales. And we made it happen. One kid, Austin Beveridge, All-American, sold 38 grand. He challenged me. I sold 20 grand that summer. The other 40 combined for the rest, which wasn't very good. But we still made it happen. That was one of the hardest summers of my life. I went from amazing to amazingly hurt, distraught. I remember I had a conversation with Matt King, my mentor. I remember we went out for a lunch. He might not even remember this. My beard was just all like frazzled up. And it was in the fall semester. And he's like, "How you doing?" Like, I feel like shit. He's like, "You look like shit. You should probably shave. It'll make you feel better." I said, "I don't have time to shave." I don't know if he remembers this. My words. I don't have time to shave. He said, "How long does it take you to shave?" It's like, long time. Long time. My class starts at 8 a.m. I'm out the door. I don't have time. So how long would you say? 15, 20, 30 minutes. I mean, because I had like a line. I had to shave underneath and on the top. It had to be perfectly straight. Like a chin strap. It's like 30 minutes. So you said you can't wake up 30 minutes early to shave once so you don't look like shit? That's how I remember it, at least. That might have not been his exact words, but that's how I remember it. And that was a breakthrough moment that I have people in my life that are going to care about me enough to challenge me and just be real with me and tell me here in this space. Here in this space of Vector Marketing, you're going to have people that are going to challenge you. And a harsh reality settled in. During that campaign, I realized the reason why my people quit on me was because I was projecting my personal life onto them. I was being harsh. I was being tough. I had a likability factor that was nil. I was projecting my insecurities and my personal circumstances onto the people around me. I read a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People that really changed my life. At 22, I ran my second branch office, bought my third house, graduated from USF, inherited my childhood home, a portion of that, and had a net worth of approximately $1 million. And graduated college and opened up my district office. Man, my self-worth went up because my net worth went up. I was feeling good, won an All-American scholarship. I was ready to conquer the world. District office number 3 in the country out of 120 organizations. We were rocking. Bank account was good. Everything was good. Relationship was great. And then the bubble bursted and the economy just snapped and boom. From 22 to 25 and I hit my mid-20s. Not only did I lose my properties, but that net worth went to negative $130,000. So talk about going from the high to the low, the emotional roller coaster of life, going from a net worth to a no worth. And when your self-worth is tied to the results in life, what does your self-worth feel like? At 25, I call that my mid to late 20s. That's where a lot of the stuff started happening in life. Call this the perspective phase of life. I lost my homes. I lost my money. At 27, that 7-year relationship ended. And I remember I got a phone call that my best friend and college roommate, Mr. Nick Shakes, lost his life in a fatal car crash. And that probably hit me home worse than just about anything else because that was my friend, my age, my amigo. I had lunch plans on Sunday, and he's killed on Saturday at 2 a.m. What the hell? You don't die at 27 years old. That's not in the cards. That's not how it works. That's not how it works in life. You don't die at 27. The parent doesn't bury the kid. I remember I'm standing next to his dad in front of the casket, and he's standing next to me. He said, "Do you have anything to say to your friend?" I said, "That is not my friend. That is a body. I can't say anything to that body. It was a soulless body. It was just dead." And now I witnessed my mom dying. I was in the room and I watched that happen. Traumatizing experience that no one should ever experience. And to stand in front of my dead friend, just something came over me of like a shield of emotion. Opposite of what I thought would happen. Usually would be a flood of just hysterically crying, because that's what I did my whole life. I cried. And a shield of emotion came over me where it was like, this is not reality. This isn't real life. This isn't real. And I shut it down. I said, this isn't real. I went back to my business, and I show up early because it's the SC2 push, and I get there, and my squad, my alliance, is late. And I just buried my friend. And they're late. They have the audacity. How dare them be late? Don't they know what I'm dealing with? I show up and I said, F you guys. But I didn't say F. I cursed them off and I freaking left. And I called up Matt. I said, I'm done. I'm done. I surrender. I'm out. I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this. This is too much. The ups and downs, the money, the relationship, my mom, the business. I mean, it's just too much. There's got to be something easier out there. I can't handle this, man. I said, if anyone can handle this, it's you. And he had to remind me of how much of a badass I am and what I've gotten accomplished in my life and how far I've come. And he said, this is not the time to turn around. This is the time to break through. I remember I ran to the gym. I was on the bike and I look at my phone and it's all text messages from my alliance. Patricia Valadares, I love you, Papa Mike, don't be mad. Mike Nisbet saying, I'm sorry. It's like, how do I go back from that? They forgave me. They forgave me. This is where a shift started taking place. At 28, I buried my uncle from heart disease. So I started intentionally doing something with my health. I started a plant-based diet. After going to a Tony Robbins event, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this thing out. Try to take care of my health and nutrition. I love eating, and I love food. I was like, this is going to be a good challenge for me. And 3.5 years later, still haven't had meat. At 29, I lost my sister-in-law to a battle with cancer. She has 4 kids. I call her my sister because she dated my brother since they were 13 and 14 years old, and she was in my family longer than I was. And lost that battle with cancer. I started being intentional with my dad. So I took my dad to Switzerland and to Italy on an 18-day trip, and I said, you know what? Dad's 75 years old now. He's not going to be around forever. I started being intentional with relationships in my life. I started spending more time with my dad. I flew out to Mexico to see my brother a few times now. I just went home. I did a kayak trip with my dad and invited my sister, the one that used to beat me up my whole life. I said, you know what? Mom wouldn't want us to fight. Mom would want us to have a civil relationship. So I'm intentional with that relationship. I took my niece on a road trip because I wanted to be intentional with that relationship. And I realized how important love and connection is in my life. I learned that the secret to living is giving, and I need to give to those around me. I got to take all these lessons I learned in life and share them with others. I learned once that my mess is my message. I learned I have to start sharing this with people because not everyone's going to experience what I go through, and not my problems are worse than theirs. But everyone has a problem in life. Everyone has a challenge that they face at some point in life. That circumstance that comes up and they're not ready to handle it. And if there's some sort of wisdom that I could shed to help them get through it with less pain or less adversity, I'll do my best. So I started a movement called Grab Tomorrow. It didn't have a title. But thanks to my girlfriend, Lindsay, bouncing ideas off of one another, we came with this idea called Grab Tomorrow. I loved it, and it stuck. I started a community. I've now spoken to over 20,000 students on how to take control of life outside the classroom. I started feeding the homeless and started doing good in my community. We've now fed over 25,000 people in the Tampa Bay area. I launched out 2 books, both #1 bestsellers on Amazon, to spread my message and to spread the message of other people who go through challenges in life. Through taking the leap into leadership and into management, I learned a valuable few lessons, and that's leadership experience, adventure, and personal growth. You're not going to be able to hear this, but I wanted to play an awesome video for you. And there's subtitles, so you're good. And this is me my first summer selling Cutco. The Jufro. And I guess it just doesn't want to play, but in this video, I'm at my birthday, and I'm talking to my dad, and I said, "Why are you knocking my Cutco sales? Are you mad because I'm making something of myself, Dad? I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I'm going to grow up and be like Andrew Teichman, who is my district manager." Believe that shit? That was after my fast start. My birthday is June 25th. That was my birthday. I launched on June 16th, right after my fast start. I think about Mike when I started selling Cutco. Turned that Jufro into some cornrows. I'm just saying. White chocolate. I wanted to stay in management because I realized that this is a place for me to grow. My road to management, learned how to grow myself personally, but man, that management opportunity was incredible. I learned how to find myself through those challenges and how to be the best version of me. I started thinking about who can I create in this process of management? How can I develop myself? I started evolving as a leader. And I learned how to do this through the Leadership Academy and through the management training. I became a leader in my community, contributing and giving back through my management experience, making an impact on those individuals in and around me. I learned that as a leader here in Vector Marketing, I get paid when I help other people get paid. And I like getting paid. And I'm not just talking money. When I tied money, my self-worth to my net worth, when I lost the money, I also lost me. I learned that I can get paid with love and companionship and compassion and friendships and all those things that we listed off in the beginning of this message. I don't have enough, you fill in the blank. I realized that I could get paid with those things through Vector Marketing's district manager opportunity and the management experience here. I was scared to take challenges. Why? Because of who I was as a kid. It was risky. I didn't trust people. My freaking sister locked me in the trunk of a car the first time I trusted someone. I can't trust people. I can't love people. Because if I love them, they're going to be taken away from me. I can't give my heart to other people. Because it's just going to get hurt. I learned that that's not true. I learned that if I don't be the best version of me, that's the biggest risk that I could take in life. Bet on yourself. I learned through mentorships here in the business that I don't have to see myself for who I am and who I was as a kid. I can see myself for who I ought to become and who my capacity offers me to be. Might be my favorite photo of all time. I've been able to go on a lot of adventures with this Vector Marketing company. I've traveled the world. I've traveled to Europe, went to Israel, Prague, Buenos Aires, Hawaii several times, Costa Rica, Ireland, all across the country, Mexico countless times. Been able to do a lot of really cool adventures with this business. I've had adventures with my people. Been able to make him do a lot of cool things. A lot of silly things, but a lot of cool things. I love running my business the way I choose to run it. As the owner, as the boss. And every manager is able to do it their own way, and I'm able to do it my way. If I want to play minutes to win it, I can. I can do what I want. It's my business, it's my adventure. And I realize, my dad is 75 years old and he still works 6 days a week because he runs his plumbing business and he is the owner. And he told me to get a secure job. And I saw my friend in college, Julie, who graduated a year before me, went to go work for a company with a paid internship right out of college. And within 1 year was laid off and sent back to school to finish off her master's for 2 years and accumulated more debt and then moved to Seattle, Washington for a great job, but was now 3 years behind where she wanted to be with more debt. Security isn't always secure. Bet on yourself. And think about the personal growth. Who I became in the process, you can't buy. The lessons that I've learned, you cannot buy. And this is the best vehicle you could possibly drive. And some people drive at 20 miles an hour, some drive at 220. I'm here to tell you that you could take your road on wherever you've been in life, and you could run with this thing. You could do amazing things inside this business if you choose to take the leap. Maybe that's a great opportunity for you, maybe it's not. But whatever that leap means for you, milk this business for whatever you can get out of it. And take from who you were as a kid and evaluate those life lessons. Evaluate the people closest to you. Evaluate the lens that you view your world in. And challenge it. Challenge the hell out of it. And say, you know what? Those thoughts don't exist. I control those thoughts. And if I want to change, I have the ability to change. And in this space, you can change and be the best version of you. I encourage you guys to take the leap in your life. Thank you.